Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy hot Monday. It's going to be close to 90. It was 80 degrees at um, 7:30 this morning. So it's going to feel like summer. I hope that you all can be comfortable or find a comfortable place. So today we're going to talk about in reading. Um, this is a lesson that somehow I picked up the wrong slide for last week. We are going to evaluate an argument to support a claim. So, in this lesson, you will learn how to evaluate the argument to support the claim in a text by considering reasons and evidence supplied by the author. And so, how is this important to you when you're writing these essays for these tests and you make a claim? You have to make a strong claim that makes sense. So, we are going to see what that looks like, and gonna get moving this morning. So let's go. So again, I just showed you the lesson for today, and here's our PowerPoint. We're going to get started on our slide, and there we go. Let me just get the slide formatted correctly, and we're ready to go, y'all. Okay, so this is our core lesson where we are identifying the author's claim. Which is making the best of invasive species. And this is interesting because where my friends live down south, there is an insect called a cicada that lives underground for 17 years and then comes above ground to mate. And then it dies, and the new ones go back underground. So they're big and ugly and nasty looking and loud. So the author has said, well, let's find a way to make the best of invasive species. They have actually shown recipes for they have actually shown recipes for cooking and eating these cicadas. So I don't know how you all feel about that, but I'm not really feeling it too much. So this author's article is again making the best of invasive species. Garlic mustard, which is a green, like a mustard green, and Asian carp, a fish, can wreak havoc on an ecosystem. But do they have a future on your dinner plate? The Asian carp was imported. It was kind of on a boat, attached to a boat, and got into our streams. And it is a predator. So it has upset the balance of an ecosystem. So our claim is that invasive species are a negative force in the ecosystem, but by using them, we can minimize their impact. So we are going to highlight reasons and evidence that support the author's claim. Excuse that typo. So this prolific plant, cursed by home gardeners and park and wildlife managers alike, is routinely wrenched from the ground or spritzed with herbicide in an attempt to keep it from taking over. But on April 14th at Cleveland's Shaker Lakes Nature Center, garlic mustard was the guest, or rather, the pest of honor. And again, we do eat one variety of mustard greens, and they were at one time weeds. So, Pestival 2011 featured 7 of Cleveland's most notable chefs making garlic mustard a gourmet treat. Now, we've highlighted here reasons and evidence that support the author's claim that the invasive plant, cursed by gardeners and park and wildlife, okay, and also the Pestival showed Cleveland's notable chefs making garlic mustard a treat. So it's a pest, but we've turned this into a gourmet treat. Hmm. Evidence: cursed by home gardeners and making garlic mustard a gourmet treat. So that's the author's claim that these are considered pests, but we can control them by using them in a different way. We don't have to spray them with pesticide or spend money cutting them down. We can do what? We can eat them. And the source, Festival 2011. Can even state that the source is in there. So the core lesson, take the Asian carp, please. Imported from China in 1973 to clean algae from southern ponds. The carp soon broke from their confines and infested Mississippi, Mississippi River waterways, gobbling up the phytoplankton that support the native species, like algae. The carp can grow 4 feet long and weigh 100 pounds, and they continue to swim north and could establish themselves in our Great Lakes, the world's largest freshwater system, and decimate native fish populations there. Disgupta argues that the carp has all the health benefits associated with eating fish. So what? We should do what? We should eat it. Take it, please. And Disgupta argues, however, that the fish has all the benefits associated with eating fish. So that's another pest. And what we can do is to eat it. Okay. Evidence, crust by home gardeners, making garlic mustard a treat. And Asian carp has all the health benefits as most fish. And the source, Festival 2011. And Professor Disgupta. So we're having our sources of information that we can cite, and we have evidence support the other author's claim. Again, highlight reasons and evidence that support the author's claim. Here's another one. In Florida, George Serra has trained his fork on a different invasive species creature, the spiny-tailed black iguana, which was imported as an exotic pet, escaped and then proliferated, just spread like crazy. And Sarah was hired by the town of Boca Grande on Gasparilla Island to kill and hunt the iguanas, which feast on endangered plants as the eggs of protected sea turtles, gopher tortoises, and burrowing owls. They grab them and eat them like we'd eat a cherry tomato, Sarah says. In 2 years, Sarah bagged 12,000 iguanas. His conscience soothed as he found parts of protected species inside them. But it bothered him to kill an animal without eating it. He considered that wasteful and disrespectful of their lives and right to be. So then he met some Central and South American tourists who told him that iguanas are a delicacy back home where they're a native species. And they gave Sarah recipes. He tracked down more on his own and produced an iguana cookbook. All right, so our reasons, the next creature was the spiny tailed black iguana. And what? Sarah met some Central and South American tourists who told him that iguanas are a delicacy back home and they're native. And so he found use for them by speaking with people who are accustomed to eating them. Evidence, cursed by home gardeners, making garlic mustard a gourmet treat. Asian carp has all the health benefits as most fish, and iguanas are a delicacy. In our sources, Festival, Professor Disgupta, and George Serra. For our core lesson, ask yourself, how do these reasons and evidence fit together to convince the reader of the claim? Here's our evidence, and there are reasons. You have your sources of information. So the claim is that invasive species are a negative force in the ecosystem, but by using them, we can minimize their impact. That was the claim. Olson gives 3 examples of invasive species, and then she quotes people who either do eat or have eaten each of the examples. Okay, there's our evidence. Is this argument effective? They were imported from China. Researchers and professors George Sarah hired to kill. That's funny how they said that. And he killed many and made a cookbook. So he cited credible people and numbers. To prove her point, she listed examples of other invasive species and similar reduction efforts. And I don't know if I'd call it a reduction effort as much as a way of life. That's what they eat, it's a part of their diet in another country. But this is effective because there are other invasive species and people are using them similarly. Does Olson effectively build the case for appreciating invasive species? She effectively builds her case for appreciating invasive species by citing several examples of species like garlic mustard, Asian carp, and the spiny-tailed black iguana. With each of these examples, she explains why they are initially a pest and how creative people make the best of the problem, serving up delicious meals, delicacies, or making food for other animals. Instead of an article just pointing out what's wrong with these invasive species, Olson argues that by using the invasives, people are more aware of their existence and their behavior towards them. Number one, identify the author's claim. Number two, highlight reasons and evidence that support the author's claim. Number three, ask yourself, how do these reasons and evidence fit together to convince me of the claim? And number four, is this an effective argument? Does it make sense? In this lesson, you have learned how to evaluate the argument to support the claim in a text by considering the reasons and evidence supplied by the author. That's it. So, what this has done is to walk you through crafting your own argumentative essay by considering the reasons and evidence supplied by the author and how you would take them one by one and consider them in making a strong, cohesive, and good argument. That's all we have for today. I will see you tomorrow for our writing block and science. Take care, everybody.